Hey, and welcome to the Jessica Paul podcast. I'm your host, Jess Paul, actress, manifestation expert, and mindset coach. And I'm here to share with you all of my secrets on confidence, success, and the magic of manifestation. If you're ready to dive in deep and see more success in your career, more money in your bank account, and more love in your life, with a whole new level of freedom, then you're in the right place. I'm letting loose on everything you need to take back control of your life, up-level your mindset, and tap into your manifestation powers. I'm so excited that you're here. Hey guys. Okay, so this is going to be a completely different podcast episode. But I am actually recording this off my phone. I've never done that before. I usually have like my whole podcast set up and stuff in my flat, but I'm recording this off my phone because I don't have my mic where I am right now. And this is just going to be an episode of updates, really, because if those of you that follow me on Instagram, you will have seen there's a lot that's been going on in my life recently. And I've been trying to stay up to date with you guys as much as I can, but I think like so many of you have been asking me the same questions, so I want to put it in here. For those of you that don't follow me on Instagram or have only just come across this podcast, hey, my name's Jess. I'm a manifestation expert and mindset coach for you gloriously ambitious souls. But this is going to be a random podcast episode, guys, because it's really not going to be the same kind of structure as before. It's probably not going to be as long, but I wanted to use it as a little update and just to kind of talk about some of the things I've been going through and some of the things that I've learned in this time. So for those of you that aren't aware, I have been in hospital now for 7 days. I got admitted last week for something quite serious. But essentially, I had an infection that wasn't treated properly, and so therefore the infection reached my blood and I ended up getting sepsis, which again, for those of you that don't know, it's when a bacteria gets into your blood and it can be quite critical. I'm sitting here like I know the medical chat, but actually I've been around it for so long now, I'm starting to really pick up on it all. Essentially, it was quite a serious thing. Anyway, so I've been in the hospital now for 7 days, and in this time there's like so much of it that I don't want to relive at all, because it's probably the worst I've ever been in my life, like in terms of illness. Like I went through I had glandular fever when I was a kid, and that I remember being horrible, but this experience over the past 7 days has been way worse, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But really, the first thing I want to say is just such a huge thank you to all of the staff at Macclesfield General Hospital. The NHS has just been absolutely fucking amazing. And I can't even really put it into words. They've just been so good to me over the past week. And I think like they just really deserve this shout out. And the other thing that I want to say is how incredibly grateful I am for all of the messages I've received. Again, I did put up a little story on my Instagram the other day because I was feeling so much better. And I just sort of said, one of the biggest things that I have been consciously manifesting for years now, when I was in quite a low place mentally, like, my mental health was bad and I was feeling very lonely. One of the main things I wanted to manifest was a big community of friends around me that supported each other and supported me, and that I supported, and just having that community. And I realized during being this ill and the amount of messages I was just inundated with that I I freaking manifested that. I've manifested that community that I've always craved and desired. And that for me was such a huge realization. So I want to just say, like, guys, I just love you all. I love every single one of you. I love every single one of you that listens to this podcast every week. I love every single one of you that has messaged me, that is engaged in this community, that has built this community and been a part of this community and felt safe enough to share their own stories in this community. Like, it lights me up so much. So that's, again, like the second thing I really, really need to say before anything else. So one of the biggest things as well that has kind of opened my eyes in this situation is just the kind of the business that I've manifested for myself, and that kind of status as a leader that I've always wanted in terms of, you know, a guide to help people, to help everybody else on their own spiritual journeys, on their own self-development journeys. And I've really had to sit into this identity of influencer. Now, like, some of you might relate to that. So like, a lot of you that listen to my podcast may be influencers yourselves. You may be light workers. You may be actors or people, you know, that are here to make an impact. And this is one of the biggest things I teach as a coach, is how to make an impact in this world, how to show up, how to show off, how to lead. And something that's been very eye-opening for me is the fact that I've always shown up online, you know, and gosh, only 2 years ago, guys, like I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even show up for myself because I was so low in confidence. And since learning how to do that and learning how to open up that power within myself, I became a leader online, and I was able to, you know, manifest this business and you know, call in my clients and help other people become leaders themselves. But this is the first time in my life since creating my business that something quite serious has happened to me, which I then have to document in a way which has kind of been weird to me. I've felt like, wow, this is, you know, it's strange, but in a way, like, this is life, and these are the sorts of things that can happen. And I think the fact that you can document it and help somebody else that could be going through the same thing, or, you know, just offer any kind of advice that you're learning from this life experience, I think it's incredible. And I think that's just a reminder to us all that when we're stepping into our highest self, when we're stepping into that, like, freaking bad bitch version of us that we always know we were meant to be, it's gonna feel weird, it's gonna feel a little bit scary because it's the unknown, right? And what I mean by that is that on a personal level, like, I've had to step into the shoes of this influencer, which, you know, I had a conversation with my assistant about it months ago when we were in Mexico. And I sort of said, oh, I don't know about this term influencer. What does it, you know, like, it makes me feel icky. And she was like, why? And I was like, I don't really know. And it's funny because, like, actually, when I questioned it, there is nothing icky about being an influencer. An influencer is there to influence, and if you're influencing in a positive way, that's fucking amazing. And so that, you know, I've really been stepping into those shoes, and consequently, you know, in doing so and in really, like, identifying as that influencer, like, my following has just shot up on all my platforms. So again, for those of you that are, you know, leaders in this way, or actors, or, you know, ambitious people, right? You're all ambitious people that listen to this podcast, right? You'll relate to this. But for me, over the past, you know, 7 days, whilst I've been, like, critically ill in bed, I've woken up to, you know, like, thousands more followers on TikTok, and it's sort of, for me, a kind of sign from the universe to say, like, yes, this is what happens when you do just own it and step into those shoes and, you know, own that identity and get rid of all the shadow that you're feeling around that identity and just freaking own it, right? And it's what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to make an impact. I've always wanted to help, always wanted to help. So I think that's like as well something it's just kind of opened my eyes up in this time. And I think really the other thing to note there is, and this kind of relates back to my previous podcast episode, which, as I said, guys, if you listen to that episode, that was when my infection first started. And I've been ill really for over 2 weeks now, but I didn't really understand how bad it was until I listened to my intuition. I will get into all of that in a minute, but just going back to that episode and talking about surrender and how, you don't actually have to do anything. If you're in the frequency of what you want, you will call that thing in. So even when I have been so sick in bed, like unable to even walk for days, I was still able to manifest the things that I desired, right? And I think this is such a big, I think this is so important for so many of us to hear, because we're all in this mindset of doing all the time, and and rushing, and actually everything is coming to you. Your only job is to let these things in, right? And the way you let them in is by doing that inner work, raising your frequency, unblocking all of these limiting beliefs and letting it in, right? And because obviously I do so much work on myself in that way, I don't have to do, I can afford to rest, and I'll still be vibrating at the frequency of what I want, so that as well has been a huge thing. Guys, I manifested a freaking private room in the NHS. Like, that's unheard of. For my listeners who aren't from the UK, the NHS is our national health service, and it's a service that we pay for through our taxes. But it just means that we come in, we don't get a bill at the end of this, our stay here. But it's under quite a bit of pressure, especially since COVID. I know, because as well, my sister is actually a doctor. So, you come into a space like this and you don't expect to get what I got. And at first, I actually could not believe it. They just, one of the doctors just came around and they said, we're moving you to room 2. And at first I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Why? Because I was on a ward at this point with other people, and they said, we're just upgrading you. And I was like, what? At first I couldn't believe it, and then I thought, of course I can believe this. This is how your energy speaks. And this is sort of what I was saying on my Instagram story, if any of you saw it. Like, your energy speaks way louder than anything else. So even when you're that sick in bed, you can still manifest. And I'm so incredibly grateful. I can't even put it into words how grateful I am, because I have, I have space here. I have a window that I can see out of. I'm actually sitting by this window right now with the breeze coming in. My parents have been able to visit me, and it's made such a huge difference. And that was something that was manifested in this time. So I just want to change the subject slightly, because I want to talk about everything that's happened on a kind of spiritual level, just briefly, because I do actually want to do a whole episode on this. I did kind of touch upon it in the last episode in terms of how your mindset really can affect your physical body, and how it's a balance between what is going on in your mindset and what you're believing and what you're thinking about yourself and your own health, and also how you're treating your body, what you're putting into your body, how you're nourishing yourself, the exercise that you do. It's all freaking connected, mind, body and spirit, right? But what I will just say now is that I feel spiritually there is a whole collective upgrade going on right now, guys. It's been energetically for me, because obviously I'm very in tune with energy. All of this happened for me over the Scorpio Scorpio full moon, guys. I'm a Scorpio rising. It was an eclipse. It's been Mercury retrograde. Like, for those of you that aren't into astrology, like, basically all this really means is that there's been a hell of a lot of energies going on right now, and that combined with me being admitted to hospital and then on the full moon, classic, I get my period, right? You couldn't write it, okay? In terms of the energies that were going on for me, you couldn't write it. And so I haven't really journaled anything out in this time because I've been too ill, but I've processed a lot. And for me, I feel an upgrade, certainly on a cellular level. As I said, I've never been this ill. The doctors as well can't really even explain why it happened. Like, they obviously they say to me, oh, you've just been unfortunate, but for me, I don't view it that way at all. I view it on a spiritual level, and there's no coincidence to me that this has happened during the time that I have literally just started energy clearing sessions, which have been very intense for me, because I think I'm already so open and my spiritual gifts are already here, that a lot has been happening. And it's almost as if this has been like a huge purge, like, of energy that needed to be released from me. And now that I'm feeling better, I honestly do believe that this is like a whole new upgrade energetically for myself and for so many people in the collective, so many of you guys that are spiritually woke, that, you know, obviously you guys that listen to this podcast, there's a huge kind of upgrade going on, and lots of crazy energies, and it's, for me, I just found it bizarre how it all kind of happened since the new moon up until the full moon. Over these past 2 weeks, it's been a whirlwind of different emotions and physical things happening to me, and there is no way that it's not all connected. But like I said, I would like to do more of an episode on that, and also just going into like how your mindset can really affect your body and all of that sort of stuff, because especially after what I've been through, I think it's going to be a really hot topic and I think people need to know about it, you know. So but the final thing I just want to say before I end this episode is to listen to your intuition. Now, this is something that I bang on about all the time as a coach. My clients will know. It's like something I tell them every single day, and it's actually something I teach within my academy, how to really harness that intuition, how you actually access it and how to use it, right? Because essentially, if I hadn't have listened to my intuition on this whole thing could have been a completely different story. The stage that I was at when I came into hospital was a really serious stage of infection in my blood. And if that had been left any longer, it could have turned into, honestly, like, I don't know all the medical terms, but toxic shock, I think, is the next thing that happens. So essentially, I'm not going to get into all the details because there's no point in me doing that over the past 2 weeks, but the long and short of it is, I was given some advice by the GP to wait for a phone call, and they said, we'll call you back tomorrow. And my intuition told me, no, I need to be seen by someone. There is something not right in my body. And so I didn't wait, and I went to A&E, and I sat in A&E for 22 hours. Right, I was in the department for 22 hours. I was already admitted halfway through that, but and they said to me, and the first thing they did was hook me straight up to IV antibiotics and fluids, And so that is just, it's quite a serious example, but I really, really strongly felt like it needed to be said, because so many of us, I think in life, when it comes to health, we can just brush things aside, like so often. You know, you hear it all the time with, you know, people finding lumps on their body and just ignoring it, and then it turning into something worse. And, you know, and so this is just my message to you, for you to know that you freaking know your own body, guys. We all do. And you will get advice from all sorts of people when it comes to making a decision, but the most important person you need to listen to is yourself. And that's why having confidence in yourself and having that self-belief is so damn important, because if I wasn't as strong in myself in terms of my own self-belief and my own you know, like intuition, then I could have just listened to that GP and not woken up the next day. You know, I know that sounds dramatic, but that genuinely could have been the case. So it's kind of like I know this episode is probably like really sounds really scary. I don't want it to sound like that, but I do believe that should be said. I do really want this to be said, because you guys know your own bodies, and I am so damn grateful that I've done this work and that I freaking know what my intuition says to me on a daily basis, because in this instance it really did save me, and I'm really thankful for that. So yeah, guys, this has been a really weird episode. Like, because I'm so used to kind of like coaching you on things and then giving you a bit of homework, but this has just been more of like an explosion of Jess's thoughts after the past week of craziness. But I hope that like you've taken some bits and bobs from this and like it can help. And of course I'm going to be back next week. You know, like, I'm not gonna freaking promise anything. Like, I'm going with the flow. One of the biggest things I'm gonna do, and one of the biggest mantras I'm telling myself, and maybe some of you need to tell yourselves this mantra too, is I am taking it slow. I am taking it slow. Like, I have to affirm that to myself, because I did wake up yesterday and I thought, I'm feeling a bit better. So I got out of bed, and then I had a head rush, and I like fell back down again, and then I thought, oh no, and then I started to feel good again, so I went, okay, I'll message everybody back. And then by about 4 p.m. I was lying on the hospital bed just thinking, what the hell have I done? And that's classic Jess style. And this is why as a coach, you know, I'm just like so in on practicing your feminine. And this has been the biggest test for me in my whole life from the universe to do that. So, yeah, guys, this has just been my inner ramblings. I hope it's helped in some way. I do just want to say before I end this episode, like, a big thank you for everybody that's been supporting the podcast. As you all know, my podcast is my absolute joy, and I find so much love doing this. I have so much love for it. And I'm also putting so much energy into it, especially this year. And so all of your like reviews and all of the comments, like, they mean so much, and your shares on Instagram, it means so much for me. So, you know, if you haven't written a review and you're enjoying the podcast, like, just to leave a little one would mean the world. But yeah, guys, other than that, I'm going to sign out. I'm probably going to have another little sleep. I'll keep you all updated, but I should be getting out very soon. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I was supposed to be, right now, as I'm recording this, guys, I was supposed to be in Barcelona. That was another bummer, but, you know, like, there was absolutely no way I was going to get there. That was for my friend Thierry's birthday, but I send you all the love, Thierry, and yeah, but I hope you guys are having a lovely weekend. Look after yourselves, look after your health, and I'll chat to you all soon. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who you think would love it too. And if you want to let me know how you found it, just screenshot this episode, add it to your Instagram story, and tag me at I am Jessica Paul so that I can throw all the love right back at you. And of course, subscribe, hit those 5 stars, and leave a review to show your support and to keep the good stuff coming. Sending you so much love and gratitude from your girl Jess.